He's still showing joining.
Yeah.
I'm calling him again.
And Prabhuji's backdrop, I think that needs
I'm
to the
trying.
virtual.
I'm not able to get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So top right-hand corner, Prabhuji, there'll be next to participants, MORE, more. And if you click on that, there will be the third will be virtual backdrop.
Wait a minute. Where you're saying?
So top right, you'll see mute, video, content, participants, and more, MORE.
Mute.
No, next to Udar, there'll be all those options.
Yeah, I see video, audio, then participants.
The next to it should be one tab called more or something on those lines.
हमारे इसमें नहीं है मेरे आप
अच्छा चलो ठीक है
आगे कि नहीं गौरव प्रभु
No, he's not been able to join in, Prabhuji.
It says Ganesh admit. Should I admit him?
Yeah, just try again.
आगे कि नहीं गौरव प्रभु
No, he's not been able to join in, Prabhuji.
अरे बोल क्या हो गया प्रभु जी
Pavitra's meeting room is waiting for you.
No, we pressed.
You have to let me in.
We pressed admit, but you're not being able to join.
या यू अरे they have admitted they let you come in कैसे नहीं हो रहा आपको
I'm waiting only for you. We have to post attendance.
Prabhuji, please ask him to log in again.
प्रभु जी one more time you lock change करो और एक बार लॉक करो और एक बार
और एक बार करूं
या और एक बार लॉक करो
Prabhuji, please ask him to log in again.
yeah he's doing it one more time you lock change करो और एक बार लॉक करो और एक बार लॉक करो
Please ask him to log in again.
yeah he's doing it one more time you lock change करो और एक बार लॉक करो
join the meeting. The meeting was to let you in soon. I'm looking for the
yes come in
the meeting.
hello
We've got two, three Ganeshs trying to join. I don't know.
गणेश राम कृष्ण देखो yes come in
Webinar is now streaming. Please hit the meeting host will let you in soon.
Who's admitting?
It is saying the meeting host will let you in soon.
so who's somebody's take him inside na
No,
I
Prabhuji,
pressed-
we have taken him inside, but it's still saying joining.
Yeah, it's not coming.
Let me in, na?
why what's happening baba
No, Prabhuji, we have taken him inside, but it's still saying joining.
Yeah, it's showing joining. Same is happening again and again. Can we remove?
No, Prabhuji, we have taken him inside, but it's still saying joining.
Yeah, it's showing joining.
फिर कोई अंदर छोड़िए ना.
हाँ
Can we?
I can see Govinda but the meeting host has to let me in.
No,
Can you let him
let-
join in from another? Can he just disconnect his Wi-Fi or something and try and rejoin in or something?
because everybody I joined गणेश जी देखो आपके दूसरे लैपटॉप से या माता जी के तो उधर करो जल्दी 6 o'clock now why you
I'm
should
joining from Mac.
because everybody no I am calling you on my mobile phone na माता जी के
Yeah, I'll call you again. I'll call from.
you have to join why you should I think 6 Haribol you have to make people take in 6:01 हो गया hello
Yes, Prabhuji.
yeah we have to open it now we cannot therefore I start opening at 5:55
So, what if Ganeshji can't join, Prabhuji? How do we play
no
this then?
we will see that we will see let us but I start opening at 5:50
Yeah,
5:55
Start.
Okay, so I'll start talking in the next 1 minute when you let it.
we will see that we will see let us but I start opening at 5:50 5:55
What time should I bring the poster down?
Priya, at 6:02 or 6:03 you can, then I'll start speaking immediately.
Okay, at 6:03 I'll put it down.
Yes. Welcome to Pavitra, an ecosystem for your soul. Thank you for joining us this evening. We are now live on Instagram at Pavitra Connect. Please do follow us for the latest updates on our upcoming seminars, webinars, workshops, product launches, and our meditation sessions. We are also on YouTube. Our channel is called Pavitra Connect. Do subscribe for the latest on Pavitra music and live streaming our sessions. At Pavitra, we aim to enhance the health, wellness, and spiritual quotient of all living beings. This evening is the second part of our series on empowering your mind and money post-COVID. Today, we are honored to have two exceptional people. Govinda Prabhuji, thank you for joining us again, who is an educationist, a author, a researcher, and a life coach. He has written several books such as The Hand of God, Karana on Trial, and we eagerly await his upcoming book called Money and Mahabharata, which is a truly interesting title. His search for education has led him to different parts of the country where he has studied various education philosophies and also practices based on Dharmic Siddhanta. His wisdom and insightful talks are sure to stir your soul. So Prabhuji, thank you again for joining us. Our second guest today is Professor Ganesh Ramakrishnan. He is a professor from the IIT in Mumbai and is a much awarded professor. He has been awarded the Microsoft Yahoo Research Award. He has also been awarded the IBM Faculty Award. He is passionate about boosting the AI research ecosystem in India and is also passionate about creating tools and applications which help rural India compete in a global world. Today, he mentors several startups that have germinated from his lab and also continues to develop apps and products which will help fulfill rural India's goals moving forward. He is truly vocal about local. Today, we will have Prabhuji enlighten us at the beginning of the show, post which there will be an interactive session between Prabhuji and Professor Ganesh Ramakrishnan, and we will then open it up for Q&A. So please type in your questions on our chat box while we embark on this journey of enlightenment with Prabhu Govinda Das. Prabhuji, please, thank you for joining us.
Yes. मम ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. So it's our great pleasure to be here in Pavitra platform to continue to discuss what we were discussing in the morning, money and meditation. As we were discussing that even it is but natural in this world that according to the Hindu philosophy, Lakshmi and Narayan are together. And in fact, if you see, wherever there is a stability, there is a loyalty. Stability gives rise to loyalty. Therefore, Chanakya, 2,500 years ago, and before that, Lord Krishna, 5,000 years ago, and the Vedas, if you see, they harmonize between stability and loyalty. Loyalty for what? Loyalty for the principle of life, the philosophy of life, which is called as Dharma. Dharma and Artha, when they're harmonized, it gives rise to great confidence and great growth. As we were discussing in the morning, up until the 17th century, India was able to manage wealth and also character. Big research has been done about this. So it's very interesting. Dr. Ganesh Ramakrishnan, whom I know since he was a student, and being a very intellectual, studious, born to a family where father was an engineer, mother was a teacher, was teaching mathematics. So therefore, there was a natural attraction for being so closely connected to Vidya and education. And generally being an IITian, when he got into IIT, it is known fact, or at least people speak, that IIT means once they have done, after studying, they will fly to America. But here was one IITian, of course, like many others also, he decided to stay back in India and join back the very institution where he did his bachelor's degree. He got his PhD also, and he joined that same organization, to give back. I remember many years back we were celebrating his daughter's birthday in a very unique way. very unique way. In a very, being a mathematician, he saw mathematics, or he being a computer scientist, artificial intelligence. With artificial intelligence, he connected to traditional intelligence and had a very unique celebration of his daughter's birthday. It was very deshi, very, very traditional. At the same time, learning something out of it. As we were celebrating his daughter's birthday, one of the professor from IIT, he's also part of many initiatives working with Ganesh ji. He talked about a concept called as Loka Sangraha. What is a Loka? And based upon this Loka Sangraha, Ganesh ji has working with many kinds of people. Now, Loka means group. Loka means people. Loka means planet. Generally, when there are people together, it is said that mob is many-headed monster without intelligence. It is unfortunate reality. We are carried by the mob. If there is no intelligence, we just go into obsession. Therefore, that loka without intelligence creates to loka sangrama. Sangrama means what? Battle, conflict. And therefore, when you ask young people, why are you doing this? They say, because my friend wants me to do it. There is a social pressure, and that social pressure makes our intelligence become less and less, less and less, even though we apparently act as if we are very intelligent. So this loka sangrama is very dangerous. So therefore, Ganesh ji wanted to create a concept called as Loka Sangraha. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains Karmanaivahi Samsiddhim Astita Janakadaya Loka Sangrama Evapi Sampasham Kartumarrati. He said, anyone who is in the leadership position, anybody who wants to be a leader, and who is a leader? Very simple. Anyone who is leading. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is explained that parents are the leader, natural leader, a statesman is the leader, and the teachers are the leader. So that is what it shaped to his journey. And the kind of work he is doing, teaching artificial intelligence to students, working with many, many fields, he is also a developed and visualized doing something connected to the cows also within IIT, production-based cow seva, technology infused go seva. And therefore now I invite Ganesh ji to explain his journey of Loka Sangraha, being inspired by that event in his daughter's birthday. Please explain to us how is that you connected to Loka Sangraha. Ganesh ji.
Namaste, Govindji. Thank you very much for this very kind introduction. Yes, when I walked down the memory lane to that very eventful meeting between a very good colleague of mine at IIT Bombay, Professor Ashish Pandey, your good self and me, we talked about a very interesting verse from the Bhagavad Gita where Janaka Maharaj, as a king, was very instrumental in performing Loka Sangraha. And this, interestingly, was also the thesis of our very good colleague, Professor Ashish Pandey from School of Management, where he had studied how engaging in one's own nature, swabhava, will very naturally lead to Loka Sangraha. I mean, he had a PhD thesis around this title. And many things in my life in terms of technology were also shaped by such interactions. Now, the very fact that a person's completeness in one person's contribution can be realized by facilitating the same in others rather than impeding the same in the others. This is actually an amazing sutra that underlies the Vedas. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha. It's not just about bahujana sukhaya. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha. But actually, everyone can be satisfied, and that's everyone can be sukha, and that's possible by also realizing one's own potential. So the very fact that in local stability comes global stability, the very fact that if my senses, the word is also often used to refer to one's own senses. If my own senses are in place, if I take care of my physical existence properly, in that lies the well-being of people around me. And organically, this facilitates the well-being of the entire cosmos. So this has been an amazing journey of realization. I'm very grateful to many amazing friends and absolutely wonderful teachers in my life, which have reinforced this thought process. So Govinda, this has actually manifested in a series of projects that we also kind of prefixed with the word loka, as you mentioned in the beginning.
So Ganeshji, as you are discussing about this, very interesting. Like today morning, we were discussing the conflict between the capitalism and communism. And what I realized that capitalism is when it becomes very obsessive, it becomes cause of desensitization and limitless greed. And response to this, the communistic idea begins with sensitivity to everybody, but concludes with envy of the wealth. Therefore, somebody said, what is capitalism? Capitalism is the resources distributed unequally. And what is communism? Communism is poverty distributed equally. On the other hand, you being from a premier institute like IIT, how is that you landed with the rural India? I know, as much as you travel to America, Australia, Singapore, Malaysia, in so many places presenting your papers on different subject matter, I also know with the same vigor, as much as enthusiasm you have, I don't know how much enthusiasm you have, you go for presenting, but with a greater enthusiasm, you come back to different villages of different parts of India traveling. So how is that reconciliation happened? And what is your contribution in regards to empowering the village India? Therefore, I say it's a harmony between a very sensitive communism and sensitive capitalism. How did you do that?
Thank you so much. So sometimes being vocal about local is seen as a retrograde step, basically moving back in time. But actually speaking, in the Vedas, we have understanding of Yat Pindeta Brahmande. Whatever exists in the cosmos in its miniature form can exist within an atom as well. So in the successful functioning of a small society, a small family, for example, lies a seed of the successful operation for an entire universe. This is the understanding, not just conceptually, also, but functionally. And therefore, sve sve karmani abhirata samsiddhim labate naraha. The understanding is everyone acting according to their nature, whether it's individual or a entity. In fact, nothing in our scriptures is dead. Everything is living. Family is not dead because it's not based on contracts. It's based on relationships, and therefore it's living. And therefore, the challenge, there may be hardships, but if we accept the process of adopting and staying locally as a challenge, which is towards the sustainability of the entire universe, then this is a most constructive step towards sustainability of the entire universe. So therefore, being vocal about local is seed. It's about preservation of seed. The more you can preserve seeds, the more you can ensure that you have crops in the future. We know that in certain areas like Vidarbha, there may be drought for 10 years, but some seeds, they actually fructify in the times of droughts. Right? You get a drought after 10 years and suddenly you'll find those crops coming out. So it's actually about preservation of seeds, both philosophically and functionally. And for example, some of the people I've worked with myself, you can see in the acknowledgements here, we have Ashwin Gami, we have Vikram Mansal. Some of them are technology people. Some of them are actually field people. And for me, that has been an amazing journey again, how we can operate very successfully between absolutely grounded field workers and technology people who can actually deal with devices. So yes, now just moving to the next slide. Could be so I like to kind of talk about different types of technology interventions, and each of the elements of technology intervention is based on understanding of the ecosystem in which the technology exists. So for example, your technology could be completely agnostic of the surroundings, or on the other hand, technology could be completely sensitized to the surroundings. The technology could be developed in a way that often happens, right? I have a solution, show me the problem, right? So we very often we work on research, try and present solutions, but then we haven't really grounded ourselves in the source of the solutions, the problems, right? So in computer science and other areas, we call it agile. Every solution I develop, have I immediately incorporated in the context from where this solution itself was inspired. Sometimes people see the diversity in our country, the multilinguality, for example, as a weakness. But that is a perspective. Can we view it as a strength against a weakness? Because again, multilinguality enforces the need to become completely grounded locally. Another very important aspect, community driven. So if the more we are grounded locally, and there was a very interesting address by the Prime Minister of India to the Gram Panchayats. When you have community-driven initiatives, there's a sense of ownership. So local, therefore, makes the entire unfolding of even a thought process more organic and ensures that technology remains a tool. Now, for example, what do you want to be the driver's wheel? When a car is being driven, right? The person who is sitting in the car would like to know and be sure that the car is going to the destination that the passenger desires to go to. Is the car going to be so overwhelming that the person sitting in the car absolutely has no control on where the car goes? So who is in the driver's wheel? So is technology going to be so powerful and overwhelming that it overwhelms the community, breaks the community, or is the technology a tool that enables the community proceed? So these are some very, I would say, fundamental points to ponder over. And in every element of this, you can see that technology and people, their interrelationship can be very organically dealt with the moment we are grounded in being local.
Ganeshji, so I need to again ask you, very interesting. We want to make it more to tell your story. Like I remember you were talking about when you visited a farmer to bring your product, so that there could be an integration between technology and a farmer who is absolutely, according to us, is not technically savvy. But how did that farmer, which gave you an inspiration to start this local cart, that farmer basically charge you for giving a consultancy? Can you share that story and connect that with your developments?
Yes. Again, thank you for bringing up this interesting point. Several years back, it's almost 9 years back, I thought as a technocrat, let me elevate the society around me using technology. But obviously, I was under the influence of technology as something that can potentially overwhelm the community itself. So I visited a farmer group and I offered to them, well, how can technology help you? Whether it can be used to improve the yield that you have in your field, whether it can, my core area is artificial intelligence. Can that be of some benefit? I remember sitting with this group for almost an hour. And at the end, as I was about to get up, the farmer said, please give us 500 rupees. I was quite shocked. I said, well, why? I thought I'm coming to help you here. So the farmer was very frank. He said that many people come here, they understand our problem, they take ideas from us, and then they present solutions and sell the solutions back to us. So for us, this turnaround time in terms of benefiting from the solution is very long. We have decided to shorten that turnaround time and charge the money upfront. Why would you let you build an idea based on our seeds and then sell back the ideas to us? So that's when it struck. If you can go to the next slide, please. If you can, yeah, you can see this interesting picture here. That's when it struck to me. A very nice example that my old professor of appropriate technology from IIT Bombay, Professor Anil Date, would provide in his class on appropriate technology. This was actually when I was doing my BTech at IIT Bombay, and I took up this course, appropriate technology, from the Center for Rural Development, just because I wanted to ensure that there's a nice elective credits that I get. I had decided to do my PhD abroad. But then in this beautiful course, the professor asked a very simple question. Here you see a broom on the left. And he said, well, what have been technologies around cleaning? The technology of cleaning, right? So you can see there was a broom. Now, some people thought that we can basically make the act of brooming more easy and put a sleeve here. You can see a steel sleeve around the broom. So you can call this supplementary. So the broom already exists, the process of cleaning already exists, just makes this process a little bit more convenient, ensures that the broom doesn't separate, doesn't wither away quickly. Then some others came up with this complementary intervention. So he said you can also have the dustpan alongside the broom, so you can collect the dust. But then there is a third hat a person could wear and say, well, out goes the broom and here comes the vacuum cleaner. This you can call substitutional. Now, in my interaction with the farmer, I actually walked down a memory lane, what I had learned from my professor. What do I want to do in my interaction? Do I want to be providing supplementary by understanding the ecosystem in which the farmer operates? Possibly add something more complementary. Supplementary might strengthen what he's doing. Complementary might add something that complements the day-to-day functioning. And substitutional. Oh, do away with all their entire system. And in India, vacuum cleaners haven't been as well received, at least in households. I mean, mostly you have the housemaid clean up the vacuum cleaner in addition to many other things. The broom is used to clean the vacuum cleaner. Right? So when some technology intervention doesn't fit into the system, it becomes like oil on water. And that's when I realized, what do I want to do with my interaction with this farmer? Do I want to be like oil or water, or actually become part of his ecosystem? And there actually my journey of bringing supplementary and complementary interventions began. I really spent a lot of time understanding how they function. There's a very nice book by Professor R. Vaidyanathan from a former professor at IIM Bangalore, called India Unincorporated, where he talks about a large fraction of the Indian GDP, the revenue actually coming from the unincorporated sector. How do they function? They're largely based on families. They're based on relations, local relations, and not just contracts. How can these be strengthened? And that's how many farmers operate even today. So that's when we sat and understood that, well, they have a challenge in marketing. This pharma group has a challenge in marketing. So how can we bring supplementary and complementary solutions? Can we bring technology to help ease that task of taking orders, placing orders? Is it possible that uh, a phone call they make to a customer asking for orders can be recorded and broadcasted again? So we got into a complete agile development method around multiple technologies, but it required us to study. So here's my request. If we want to be meaningful in our lives and help our growth alongside making a contribution, let's understand the ecosystem in which we want to contribute. Let's become a part of it rather than sit like oil on water. And thereafter, yes, I paid the 500 rupees to him, but then I started becoming a part of his family because my perspective changed from being a substitutional, technocrat to a supplementary or complementary technocrat.
Hello. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So how did you, like, after that interaction with that farmer? Do you say that? Do you see the transformation in that farmer and your contribution? What did you do? What is this local card all about? What is this? You're talking about local card. Can you explain about this local card?
Again, thank you for taking this conversation ahead. If you could move to the next slide. So you can see several theses, both masters, and there's a PhD thesis right on the left that have resulted from these interactions. It began with assessment of small farming systems towards sustenance by our former student, Mr. Anand Rajguru, Dr. Anand Rajguru. Several master students, you can see some of them here. And this entire Loka card evolved basically as a solution for helping both business to consumer and business to business solutions for existing farmer groups. You can see a testimonial, not just a testimonial, actually a success story of the Abhinav Farmers Club, where we began with all this. If you could play the video, I mean, without the audio, you could just, just get an idea of what the success story, the glimpses of the success story are. But very briefly put, whatever processes the farmers have, farmer groups have of taking their orders, providing to the orders, and internally sourcing the orders within their farmer groups, we worked on technology that can complement, that can be a tool. This required us to make visits to them with every small intervention, every small increment to the technology, which we call, fortunately, there's a name for that in software development. It's called agile development. So we adopted agile development to ensure that every small step we take in the process, the progress, contributes positively to the farmer's own ecosystem. And that was the story. The video, the part of it was also a part of a TEDx talk by the same farmer group, Mr. Nyaneshwar Bodke. And thereafter, we had many workshops for farmer groups. And in the design of the system, again, let me be very careful here. The design of the system, we avoided directly jumping to an e-commerce platform, a middleman platform, because it's very possible that in the process you become a new middleman, a technology middleman. But we realize that at every juncture there are choices, and which choice you make, whether to go left or right, depends on the lens you carry. Whether you want your technology to be complementary or supplementary, or whether you want it to be substitutional. So this is a story of complementary and supplementary technology interventions, easing their entire process of inventory management, easing their entire process of taking orders and supplying them, easing their entire process of letting the users know what they're producing, easing the entire process of basically enterprise resource management, as they call, managing their own internal resources across farmer groups. So at every step, there was already a process which we tried to understand and strengthen.
Ganeshji, how do you want people, basically, you're working with Abhinav farmers, in this post-COVID, how will the farmers or anybody who has this working in the village, in the rural area, will use this technology, and how can the people who are participating in this discussion help you, help your team to make this, because we see one of the greatest tragedy in modern India. In fact, I remember now also they sing that the farmer was glorified as Annadata. He was almost compared to, a devata, a grain giver. Now that very farmer, our systems, our so-called people, rather than empowering them, they made them poor. Basically, our plans, our systems, rather than being pro-poor, it became pro-poverty. And the farmers, the tragedy is the farmers were standing in a line to collect vegetables and rice and grains in a ration shop. And the stories of farmers committing suicide, you would never hear this. That became extremely prominent. So how this work which you are all doing in the post COVID situation will benefit the rural people to connect and supply whatever they are producing?
Again, thank you for this question. So it's generally said that whatever technology institutions and government does, it doesn't generally scale. I mean, it's easy to do a proof of concept with one farmer group, with Abhinav Farmers Group, right? But where is the scale? And unfortunately, the entrepreneurs, they are looked upon without trust, right? So entrepreneurs are not found trustworthy. Academic institutions are not found scale worthy, right? So each of them have their limitations. And this I learned from a former IAS officer. So what I've always learned from Israel is the way they have nicely triangulated academic interventions with entrepreneurial skills, with entrepreneurial zeal, and brought scale, right? So IITs, we have the liberty of thinking through, spending time doing this agile development, doing complementary and supplementary interventions. But at some point of time, at IIT, we have, a faculty member like me, I have to come out of my cocoon and think that I can do it myself. So fortunately for this, we've tied up with our own entrepreneurs, whose names I mentioned in the past, in the first slide, but if you can go to the next one, if you can move to the next slide, please. So we have actually tied up with amazing companies and our own alumni startups, where we are now scaling up the whole thing, not just to farmers, but also to the entire unorganized India Uninc, as they say, India Unincorporated, which means there's some changes required to the platform. You have to make it scale, and the way you speak to the a kirana store, if you want to strengthen them, is different from the way you speak to a farmer. And beyond a point, you have to have people who understand that language. So this has been an amazing journey where there's a Loka Sangraha. While we are trying to do Loka Sangraha for the beneficiary, even the people who are trying to help, we have to do Loka Sangraha. So we got together amazing entrepreneurs, and I'm really proud that we have such entrepreneurs in our country who are actually looking forward to contributions which bring in this absolutely different way of thinking. And it's an invitation to everyone in this group, everyone who's an audience, that yes, you also have a role to play in this journey. It's a journey. I'm part of the journey. I'm simply an instrument in the journey. I request everyone to be a part of this journey. And yes, so now in the post-COVID world, we realize it's also an opportunity now with online ordering, etc., on the increase. If we don't bring in appropriate technology, unfortunately, no, there'll be something else that takes over, right? Beyond any problem that's created by a third party is the abject silence of people who could have done something about it. So if we can't do something in this situation, we have no right to blame some other e-commerce company which brings in a different paradigm, and basically this is oriented towards discounts is oriented towards simply playing another middleman, they will come up. So therefore, we are now trying to take this entire process very strategically, with, of course, also the help of our own hosts in this entire process, Pavitra. So yes, Govindaji,
Yes.
it's an invite to everyone here. And yes, we are working on a very absolutely different scale right now. We started where we are, but we don't want to be stuck with our past. We want to pivot on our past and move forward in the current situation with scale. Scale matters, and with sustainability, because the entire process also has to be self-sustaining. So all that is absolutely essential, like any other company will have in its focus. The only thing I believe is that it's very important to not go into the basically the path of just getting venture funding here. It's very important that you deal with customers, and in fact, customers are basically given the most importance in our Artha, in the way Vyavasaya used to be performed here. So creating customers is very important.
Yeah, that's an interesting principle you presented. And we see that generally, again, another very interesting concept, what I was reading in the Shastras, that whenever we give charity, charity giver feels that he is the great well-wisher of people. And charity receiver, rather than becoming empowered, they become submissive to the extent of they start functioning. So the concept of empowerment in the Vedas is that the giver is not giving charity because he feels he's superior. He is not thinking that is kind. The charity giver is considering that I'm giving charity to the competent, qualified, and potential people who have the capacity to grow. So therefore, in Loka Sangraha, very interesting in Bhagavad Gita, it is not that you take the role of a great charitable person, great kind person, great sensitive person. Therefore, I have seen working with Ganesh and his group, they are doing what they are good at. And because they are doing what they are good at, keeping Dharma in the center, it is also benefiting the others. It's a very interesting concept. So therefore, I also request those who want to, therefore, as I was mentioning in the morning, however much we want to present the Bharatiya Sanskriti, the Bharatiya Sanskriti will not flourish unless along with the Sanskriti there is Artha Vyavastha. No? If that Artha Vyavastha is not there, that will give rise to violent atheism, or it will give rise to violent liberalism, disruptive of tradition, disruptive of family structure, disruptive of our deshi activities also. So therefore, keeping this in the mind, I remember Ganeshji also, one is Loka Card. They also started working on Loka Vidya, education. I remember hearing in our childhood that there was a saying in my mother tongue, Vidya illadavanu haddiginta kade. One who does not have an education is less than a pig. No. So it doesn't mean that we are insulting the pig, but in regards to education, I remember talking myself and Ganesh, we had gone to one function on education only. And this man was also an IITian only. One time we will invite him to speak here. So he got into education with the intention of helping others. And he started his education system in the villages. But what they realized after a few years, the parents of the farmers were telling, and the semi-urban parents were telling, आपने हमारे बच्चों को बर्बाद कर दिया, आपने हमारे बच्चों को बिगाड़ दिया. These were the two things were they repeatedly hearing. बच्चों को बर्बाद कर दिया, बच्चों को बिगाड़ दिया. What happened was the modern education system for the farmer made them feel that our bap is working with mud and it is such a dirty job. I don't want to be connected with it. So Ganesh ji has done a lot of research on education, and therefore they also started another platform called as Loka Vidya. A very interesting concept. Implemented this Loka Vidya in the most tribal villages to the thousands of teachers. Can you share education experiences and bringing this platform of Loka Vidya, Ganeshji?
Thank you very much again for this opportunity. So as going back to where we began, it's Loka, right? So ultimately, Loka Sangraha, there is Loka card for Artha Vyavastha. And if you can move a few slides ahead, we have, this is some details of Loka card for those who are interested in, can always have further sessions. And what Govinda was talking about is Loka Vidya. The basic idea behind Loka Vidya, if we can go to the next slide, is basically as knowledge sharing platform for India's unorganized educational institutions. Again, I want to ensure that it's the educational institutions, yes, they could be organized, but we have had a system of learning from our families. And I remember Professor Anil Gupta long back, he's a founder of this National Innovation Foundation. And he basically had a session with several IIT students, BTech students, and he said, can we actually have a knowledge system of what you have all learned from your grannies? And there are so many subtle points of learning from grannies, which often get ignored. Now, can't that be part of a knowledge system, what you learn from grannies? So that's where we began with knowledge sharing platform. Why can't the knowledge, why is a rural population only a consumer of knowledge? Why can't they be producer of knowledge? Why can't the traditional people, the elderly people, be producers of knowledge? Unfortunately, even educational institutions today, right, the way you learn technology is not as a producer, as a consumer only. Okay, which mobile can I buy from the shop? Which hardware to procure for a particular computation? But how do you produce it? So the basic point is to inculcate the seed, the thought process that let us be also conscious that we can be producers of knowledge. And the producers of knowledge, we can leverage each other, we can work together, collaborate. That was also a point. So we worked on many things, like, we started off with biogas plant, simple thing like biogas plant. Now it's very sad that something as scientific as biogas, where you're actually trying to make the right use of methane, has not been very successful. And when we did a lot of study, we realized it's just because things are not documented. Field workers who understand it, their knowledge is not transferred across each other. You have a washing machine at home, it comes with a manual. But if you have a biogas plant, where is a manual? With washing machine, you have frequently asked questions, troubleshooting guides, but there is a troubleshooting guide for a biogas plant. So the problem is not that the knowledge is not understood, but there is no platform for sharing, making sure that others don't necessarily learn everything from only experience of their own. Why can't they learn from experience of others? So that's where we began. We did very systematic documentation of, as I said, biogas plants and many other simple rural interventions, so that villages can share across each other, and also in multiple languages, if we can. And we tied up with several basically industrial partners. If you can move to the next slide, please. So as I said, it's empowering all existing institutions. It could be coaching platforms, coaching centers, etc. But more importantly, fundamental learning centers. And also let the teachers understand the learner's learning journey. I know the Khan Academies of the world and the Baijus of the world have their own such learning platform, evaluation platforms. So Ekal Vidyalaya is one of India's largest educational NGOs. They had this requirement because they're doing a phenomenal work spread across India. I mean, lakhs of villages right now. Now, and they have amazing teacher to student training system. They already have it in place. We spent some time studying what are they doing, the way they are actually operating. We had our own computer science graduates sit with the Ekal people, understand their system, immerse himself in their system. And that's how we evolved, fine-tuned every component of our learning platform so that it is complementary to their functioning. It's not substitutional, but complementary. So my gut feeling is that there are actually many such initiatives. And in fact, 24 hours are falling too short in this COVID situation because we've been contacted by so many organizations. We are not finding time. We're simply not finding time because there's so many organizations. There are agricultural initiatives, huge agricultural organizations, which now need such a platform for preserving seeds and sharing knowledge across their farmer groups. So if you can go to the next slide. Why can't everything that Baiju and Khan Academy benefit from be also availed in a complementary and supplementary way for these sources of knowledge, these learning systems, which may be informal. A farmer will learn informally from his father. So we created several apps. There is a content creation app, as you can see in the bottom. There's an app by which you can actually get the information curated by someone else. There's an entire content management system where you can have single and bulk upload, etc. And if you can just go to the next slide, please. Okay, it's gone blank. So the entire platform is also now being adapted to tie closely with Lokacard, wherein you can, along with the knowledge, wherever possible, the monetization, not of knowledge, but the monetization for means of livelihood, which are an outcome of the knowledge, are also supplemented. So again, Lokvidya has been an amazing journey for us of understanding how India's knowledge system functions. The verbal maukhik knowledge system, it's largely verbal, and how can that be strengthened using technology? Again, invite to everyone on Pavitra and elsewhere. So here we have a success story, a deployment in India's largest educational NGOs. So it's an invite to Pavitra. How can we now take it to every other scale, both formal and informal? Yes, you need to do it for informal sector, but also you need to do it for the formal sector, because that's also a realistic concern. I mean, we have had so many cases of Kendriya Vidyalaya teachers who are struggling to, in this COVID situation, to disseminate classes and monitor the progress of their students in a remote place. Now, what technology platform do they have? They can't do live classroom because of bandwidth issues. So there's so many details that need to be studied in their respective manifestations. So again, an invite to everyone on Pavitra, please join hands. Let's actually work. This is a very difficult situation, but in that there are seeds of opportunity to go back to what we are originally and strengthen our identity.
It's very interesting. Thank you, Ganesh ji, for inspiring. Just see the number. One Ganesh ji, during the birthday of his daughter, of course, he was doing many Loka Sangra work. But in one talk of his daughter's birthday, what happened that Loka Sangra word fired him to another imagination. And how many students he was able to touch? More than 14 lakh students they have been touching. Just see the power of trying to do something good to others. I remember, when I was talking to some young students, tomorrow also, please join. And Ganesh ji also met him, Milind Thatte. He has done an amazing work with the tribal people in the very close, vicinity where these two sadhus were killed. And you can imagine how hostile place that was. Last 15 years, he has done amazing work. So Ganesh ji also connected to hundreds and thousands of students. Sometimes we feel we are not so big like Shivaji Maharaj. We are not so big like M. Visveshwaraya. We are not as great as, so many other personalities. But we all know in Mumbai alone, more than 500,000 young children dream of becoming Sachin Tendulkar and becoming Virat Kohli, right? We are not against sports or entertainment, but all of our energy is gone to become something which is not contributing in a great way to the underprivileged. How will they become spiritual? How will they become cultural? How will they contribute? These very people, they will be forced to envy those who are desensitized people. Therefore it is a practical compassion with a sensitive heart coming from spiritual connection which Ganesh ji has. So Ganesh ji, in conclusion, I would like you to speak for 5 minutes about what makes you continue what you are doing. I know during COVID situation, his family, his mother, his father, his wife, you know, they staying in the home, they could have felt, oh, we our Ganesh is here, but he's working 20 hours while staying in the home also. And he has got two sweet daughters. His wife is running a nice school called as Learning Home. It is not a school, but it is a learning home. She also realized I also need to do something. So Ganeshji, can you give 5 minutes and then we'll take questions if people have about what makes you continue doing what you're doing.
Yeah, what makes me continue doing what I'm doing is the humbling experience that there are actually amazing people around us. So there are amazing systems around us which have, even in the COVID-like situation, we can see, and that there's so many people in our society who can be very self-disciplined, who are satisfied with what be staying indoors, eating food at home, which is sometimes unimaginable to people in other worlds. So what makes me keep going is a complete experience. It's an experience that the dharohar, the heritage that has been left by generations of our ancestors, their sadhana, their hardships, their thought processes, and time and again there have been hardships. It's not that hardships didn't weren't there during Mahabharata. I mean, it looked, there have been situations where like almost a system reboot, right? Naimisha, I mean, what happened after Mahabharata, the Naimisharanya was like a system reboot. But the system reboots uh, were done not in a spirit of peril, in a spirit of hopelessness, but in a most constructive spirit that this has happened in the past. Let's learn from the past and see what to do now. So these principles which have time and again helped us do system reboot, time and again in the system reboot, respect the past and yet be focused on the future. To me, that is what keeps me going. And the amazing examples both at home, of the society around us, the dedication of people around us, instead of just seeing ourselves emerging as a hero, because it's unnecessary, heroism spirit that has been inculcated in Bollywood. I want to be hero and noticeable. Actually speaking, if I can be the best I can and let that best come out from everyone around me, I think this quest is what keeps me going.
Oh, great. Thank you very much, Ganesh ji, for your wonderful presentation. We hope, the purpose is there is so much to be inspired around us. I remember in the Gita, in the 13th chapter, Krishna makes a very interesting point. He says material nature, Prakriti, what does it do? It creates and it destroys. Transformation, continuous transformation happens. But material nature is not responsible for giving us suffering. The suffering is experienced by the living entity. How the living entity respond to what is happening around him or her. So whether COVID is good or bad depends upon what is our response to the COVID. Therefore, people like Ganesh and many others keeping their spiritual stability very strong, they're not only contributing but having this understanding, I should do what I am doing. in this condition, we see that many people want to be great. When we try to become great, we become great fools. But if we become what we are helps many people connect what they are, and automatically that becomes a contribution. Therefore, it is called as Swadharma and automatically Lokasangraha. So if you have any questions to Ganesh ji, please ask. And please come back tomorrow morning also, 7 o'clock. We are going to discuss about how to make not only wealth, certainly money. And who is going to speak? Lakshmi and Narad Muni are going to speak. It is very important. And in the evening, we will come back for discussing with Milind Thatte, who has done an amazing work. I am personally experienced that. Our GV in charge, Sanat Kumar Prabhu, also works with him. So please, if you have any question, you can ask these questions to our Ganesh ji.
So Prabhuji and Ganeshji, thank you so much. I think the stuff that you are doing, Ganeshji, is absolutely amazing, and we are proud that you are doing what you're doing. So thank you, and more power to you as time goes on. Prabhuji, I have one question for you and then a few questions for Ganeshji. Is that okay? With your permission, can I ask you? So
Yes, please go ahead.
Prabhuji, the first question is for Prabhu Govinda Das. The title of this 4 series is Empowering Mind and Money, and I think in my conversations earlier with you, you had mentioned that and I feel that in India people look at somebody who has money as somebody who's eternally bad or there is a problem, but person who has money can only create that money when he's taking society along and creating opportunities. So there is this taboo in this country about money, and excessive money is bad. What's your view on that, and how can we change that thought process amongst people? Because you need money to take other people with you. You can't create money on your own. It happens with the help of others.
In fact, I would say this whole understanding, money hate. While you hate the money, at the same time you want money also. Those who are hating the money, they are the one who want money also. Because of such conflict of understanding, they don't grow also, because their mentality or their intelligence has not grown. Basically, what is the understanding? Those who are moneyed people, that means they are not good people.
True.
Yeah. So, but this is what we are going to discuss tomorrow, and that is what Ganesh is also trying to do. We are not at all against prosperity. We are against the obsession of prosperity. Whether it is Narad Muni, whether it is Lakshmi, in fact, Krishna, why does he come again and again to this material world? To create stability. And one of the principle of our Purushartha in the Shastra is called as Dharma, Artha, Kama, also fulfillment of dharmic desires. Therefore, there is no question why this happened in India. Philosophically, we will study tomorrow morning. Ganesh, if you want to add something on this in regards to how you are empowering the farmers and villagers to deal with this situation, because we see all around, hatred of wealth is there. At the same time, there is a great desire to enjoy everything what others are enjoying. And therefore, more than 500,000 people in Bombay alone wants to be Sachin Tendulkar because he makes big money.
Yes.
Virat Kohli he's one of the greatest tragedy of this country when we talk about culture and everything. A teacher, I will not ask Ganesh how much he makes money. I will not ask his father. Is an engineer, very brilliant. His mother, she's a great inspiration. She was telling me, even though she has grandchildren, now also she's a teacher teaching mathematics, because a teacher is a teacher till they drop dead. A warrior is a warrior till they drop dead, because that is their Lokasangraha. When she got married, she married young. She took care of her parents because they did not have brother. She took care of her in-laws. She took care of her 2 children. She provided food, but she never stopped teaching the students also. But these are the heroes. These are the heroes. We have stopped worshipping the real hero and heroines, and we are worshipping, as long as India worship the synthetic heroes, we invest on them. Ravi Shastri, I do speak this all the time. He makes 6 crore rupees per year. And if that 6 crore rupees given to Ganesh ji for work, he will actually lit up 50 to 100 villages. No, that is a tragedy. So Ganesh ji, you want to say something about that?
Yes, thank you again for this amazing opportunity. So we need help in multiple ways. We need help in becoming core part of the team, the local team, bring in what your strength is. And especially we need very good entrepreneurs. Be very, very honest. We need very good entrepreneurs who bring in this, who's grounded in local, in local, but at the same time who are willing to help contribute in a very strategic manner, in a very constructive manner, understanding the current situation. I was giving the example of Loka Card. It is not that our technology was only helping farmers sell their produce to their customers directly. We also took into account the fact that small farmers need to sell to larger farmer groups. So need to sell to, say, GeoCart. I mean, that has to be accounted for. They may have to sell it to mandis. That is exactly where we have been trying to bring in. We are trying to get absolutely expert people who have expertise in the entrepreneurial sector, the industry. Please bring your ideas. Please bring your money into this platform. Yes, ideas and money also, and time. So ideas, money, and time, totally welcome.
So Ganesh Prabhuji, thank you for that. If you could probably put your email ID on our chat box, and we are also connectable at pavitraventures@gmail.com. So if you can reach out to us, and if you can't reach Ganesh, we will try and put you in touch with him as soon as we can. Another question which has come up for Ganesh you is Loka Vidya. Can it be applied to the modern education system? And what is the geographical reach of Loka Card? So two questions. One is Loka Vidya. The other one is on Loka Card. If you could answer those, please.
Your question was about, sorry?
So on Loka Card, the geographical reach for Loka Card. And the second question, which is Loka Vidya, does it apply? Can it be applied to the modern education system?
Yes. So Loka Card, right now we have built a team, and our target is entire India. Though in the past we focused largely on rural Maharashtra, but now, as I said, we want to work on the entire. We are working on the entire unincorporated sector in India. And as far as Loka Vidya is concerned, I already explained to you. We also want to help strengthen the existing formal education system in India, which may be less privileged. It can be Kendra Vidyalaya, it can be other lots of Zilla Parishad schools. So we want all of them to come into this fold. So yes, the scope is wide open for the less privileged, unincorporated sector in India, as well as the traditional knowledge systems.
Thank you. Thank you for answering that question. There is another couple of people asking how can we get in touch with you. So we've already answered that we will put up your email ID, and even through Pavitra, we will put you in touch with people who want to work with you and associate with you and take things forward. So we've come to the end of our session. We eagerly await Prabhu Govinda Das's new book called Money and Mahabharata. And I think, I personally can't wait to get my hands on that book, and I'm sure others will also. Please join us tomorrow morning and evening for our enlightening sessions. And we thank you guys for attending. Have a Pavitra evening. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you.